Welcome into Sports Around the Bar, where I know everything about football, and I'm glad you're here to talk about it with me. If you didn't know, Drew, somebody won a beer bet. Or actually, it was a profile picture bet, I should say, about the Titans game. And let me tell you, I was never worried for a second. I wasn't worried when Mike Vrabel decided, instead of taking 7 points, kicking a 45-yard field goal, he would decide, let's fake a field goal and run our best player, Brett Kern, the punter, out to the sideline and see if he can outrun all these athletes on the other side of the ball. Didn't work out. Probably fumbled. Tampa realistically scored a touchdown on that play. Refs didn't see it that way. Tough day. Let me just say, I thought I was losing a bet, and we were going to have a different logo. We are talking about that game as well as every other game going on in the NFL, especially that one. But we're talking about every other game. So if you're here for that and you've got something you're looking forward to, again, we're going to go right down the line. Drew, what surprised you most this Sunday?
These games, we'll get them at the end. Chris says Colts eked it out.
They did.
To be honest with you, I think that's a little bit of a surprise for me.
When I'm saying the Colts aren't a good team, it's games like this that I'm talking about. They have the opportunity to go into these games and come out pretty flat. But they also have times where they go and play the Chargers, and they look really, really good doing it. So again, they're one of those teams in the middle that sometimes you get great performances, sometimes not so much, right? At the very least, they won the game, and we talk about that a lot. The best teams are the teams that find a way to win. They did it today.
Which still makes them a good team.
Or did the Broncos find a way to lose?
Which still made them a good team.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough. Chris, Colts won. That's all that matters. You put this game behind you. You look for better offensive outings down the road. Don't let this hold you back. Will says he's livid, and that call was BS. That was the
Which game are we talking about?
That was the guy that you did the bet with.
If you'll notice, he's already got his profile picture up there. 2 weeks, buddy.
He is a man of 2
his
weeks. Word.
And we appreciate that.
The Tennessee Titans logo for his profile pic.
And doesn't it look so good? What an improvement already. Kenny, good to see you, man. Rob says, going to use that hat as a tear catcher tonight. No chance without Mahomes. Go, Pack, go. Oh, we're already getting into Sunday night. Already. I know Drew's ready to go watch this game. He's the guy that's been all over the Chiefs.
Yeah.
He's the guy telling me that, dude, they're going to win this game. Didn't you say that like 8 times before we started?
Yeah, I did say that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Rob is now banned from Sports Around the Bar.
No, I think Rob's right. I think Rob might have a point here. We'll pump the brakes a little bit. Chris is saying, but the Broncos defense is definitely tightening. They have been better over the past couple weeks, but I also think it's come down to them playing teams that haven't been so good, like the Chargers and the Titans, especially the Marcus Mariota-led Titans. And now the Colts. I think they do match up against teams that want to run the rock a little bit more. Or I take that back. I think they match up better against teams that throw more than they do with the pass rushing ability they have. I know Bradley Chubb's out for the year, but normally I'd say this is a team with guys like Chris Harris and Von Miller that is built to stop the pass, and they've kind of lost on that defensive front a little bit over the past couple of years. They had stout run defense today.
Yeah, it was a tough game. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't want to sit there and take anything away from the Broncos. I think they played a better team and matched up really well with them. I think it's more on the Colts in the sense where it's like you got to do better. Like I don't want to knock them out and say, "Oh, you're terrible," but
that's kind of my point.
You got
kind of my point. Yeah,
you got to do better.
But like we said before, a win's a win.
Right.
It's not always going to be beautiful in the NFL. Like, let's talk about the Seahawks. Wasn't beautiful today. Even though they got out in front of the Falcons, they still allowed them to come back into it. They've had a lot of these games this year. And we don't criticize the Seahawks the same way. Is it an equivalent, or is that a false equivalence to say the Seahawks and Colts, it's not fair that we don't talk about them in the same realm? There's been some ugly football. It's been close at times.
Yeah, but it's a little different. I know past isn't everything, but this team has been to, multiple Super Bowls, have won multiple Super Bowls with the same quarterback. You look at the Colts. This is Jacoby Brissett's now team. It's a little different. It's not,
I'm making you uncomfortable.
No, I am glad that you decided to wear your Kansas City red to support my team.
I said Tampa Bay red beforehand, but
no, you meant Kansas City. You just misspoke.
It's laundry day, so
you misspoke.
Had to wear this gaudy color.
Yeah, I appreciate your support.
So a couple of these comments here really quick. Ian says, officiating is killing the NFL. I understand people are upset about the fumble call, and they definitely missed it. Even as a Titans fan, that was a fumble by Brett Kern that they should have returned for a touchdown. Would have had a big swing. But I thought it was pretty well officiated for the most part. And I understand it sucks when you have those big calls not go one way or not be the actual truth of the matter. But like you said, human error. We talked about this a lot in the last episode. I think when you look at it, what do they just? They don't have a choice. The play was whistled dead, so the punter didn't get murdered. Even though he pretty much got murdered. That was a terrible play.
Julio said, can we agree that the Niners are for real? I literally made that comment.
Exactly what we said. And this is what we want to see.
This is exactly what you want to see from teams that are struggling offensively. Kind of like the Bills. You kind of wanted to see them put up some points. Niners finally did it. 51 points against, in my opinion, a pretty decent defense in Carolina. This is exactly the win that you want. I'm going to say it. They look like the best NFC team right now in the NFL. They're a team to be reckoned with. And I want to just make sure I get the right person. Rob says that he said the Niners. Oh, he meant the Niners defense is for real. Yes,
I agree. Yeah, exactly. This was that prove-it game where we said the Niners haven't played really good competition up till now. I mean, they just scored 9 points against the Washington Redskins. I know it was in a hurricane. Still, have not played great competition. This was a game that we can say this is legit competition, and they blew them out. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. Get a couple more of these comments. Ian, I am wearing some color today, but black is the color of my soul, so I'll keep wearing black. Louis to Kenny's. He says, "What up, boys? Tighten up. Whoop." Jake knows what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying, because let me tell you, Mike Vrabel tried to hand that game off as many times as he could.
How god-awful that Titans organization is.
Then again, Jameis Winston had 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, could have had 2 more interceptions. I mean, Logan Ryan dropped one on the goal line that he ultimately fumbled and would have given the Buccaneers like an extra 20 yards forward. And then Malcolm Butler almost picked one at the end. We're talking about 6 turnovers here. How often can you go into a game saying, man, we turned the ball over 6 times, but we really should have won?
Are we going to keep talking about that game?
Yes, but we'll talk about it more when we get up to it. First, let's talk Falcons-Seahawks. I mean, Russell Wilson, 20 passes again. 14 of them complete, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
This is just Seattle's MO. Nothing sexy. Yeah. We're just going to put up 220 yards with our quarterback, 180 to 220 yards, and we're going to grind out a win. That's exactly what happened here. Even against the Falcons defense that realistically shouldn't have been easy to throw on.
How confident should the Atlanta Falcons be now with Matt Ryan hurt, having Matt Schaub step in, throw for 460 yards? I mean, yeah, he had to throw the ball 50 sometimes. But still, I mean, this is awesome for a team that literally has a backup quarterback in there now. I know they lost the game, but do you sit Matt Ryan longer now that Matt Schaub is playing like this?
No.
Or do you push him back out there? I mean, the team's losing games.
They are.
So what kind of confidence are you building with Matt Ryan if he's unhealthy?
Well, I still think you go with Matt Ryan if he's like 100% healthy. He's still the starter for this team. There's no future with Matt Schaub. If he's 100% healthy, yeah. But now that you're not playing for anything, you're not starting Matt Ryan. There's no reason to start Matt Ryan. It's one of those situations that you wait until he's 100% healthy and then you put him back out in the field and let him kind of grind out the rest of the season. They're playing for a top pick now. Having Matt Schaub start games and lose them for you doesn't really hurt you that much. I think when you look at the Seahawks, I think they just have that kind of mentality of, we'll win this game, but we're still, they don't have that killer instinct to really be the Patriots and score 6 touchdowns and keep playing into the fourth quarter. They let the Falcons creep back in. That's where we saw a lot of the yards come from for Schaub. Going forward, I think it's more of just like a blip on the radar. Matt Schaub had a great day from the sense of he put up 460 yards, but not such a good day in the sense of the Seahawks weren't really in danger of losing this one.
Yeah, I agree. Brian, what's going on, man? He said just came in to say Norman, Oklahoma. That was a Sooners blow for the
that's tough.
CFP chances.
Kansas State, man.
Yeah.
Kansas State.
I guess that's what they do. Austin, good to see you. He said a little worried about the Hawks. The second half D was pitiful. Steven, good to see you as well. He said, don't have much time tonight, but go Chiefs Kingdom. Yes, man, I will be putting that game on my phone as soon as it starts because we will probably go into the game a little bit, but trust me, I'll be watching every minute of it.
Absolutely. Rob's always in for his Lions, man. Good win today. He said Matt Ryan should retire. Before we move on from this game, is it time for Matt Ryan to retire?
No.
Yeah, I don't think he should either. I get it. He's had a bad year, but you're not protecting him. It's kind of like Kirk Cousins. When you protect this guys like that can't move and they need to be a pocket passer, they have good days. They have great days. When you don't, they have bad days. I think that's what Matt Ryan's struggling from. There's a reason they spent 2 first-round picks to fix this offensive line. Hasn't really worked yet, but they're trying. They know that's the problem.
Right.
You can put every weapon in the world. If you can't block for the quarterback, it's not going to do anything. I think Baker Mayfield's going through a lot of that too.
Sonny says he wants to bench Winston. I think you play him out. You've already stuck with it, saying this is your quarterback. You play him for the season. I mean, you didn't draft anyone. I don't even know who their backup is. Do you?
Off the top of my head, no.
And that's my point is play the guy.
Nobody in this roster has a future. I mean,
No.
even losing someone like Fitzpatrick. Oh, I do know who their backup is. Former Titan quarterback from last year, Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert's not going to be your starting quarterback.
No.
There's no reason to put him in the game.
There's no reason to put him in there. Gabby says, "Go Jags! Jacksonville represent."
That's the first one. Haven't seen a lot of Jags fans, but let me say this. I would have liked to see the Jags lose when they came out making fun of Sam Darnold and the seeing ghosts comment. When they had the mascot run out there before the game, how Jacksonville would have been to talk all that crap and then lose the game to Sam Darnold. I know it didn't happen. And Gardner Minshew looked good in this game, too. He did.
You said it.
I know. He looked good in this game.
As a Titans fan, I'm so proud of you.
He looked good in this game
you grow up
against a
every
bad team.
episode.
I know. Right before your eyes. He looked good against a bad defense that is missing some pieces. Tremaine Johnson left this one with an injury. But still, if you're a Jaguar fan, that's exactly what you want to see. Defense firing on all cylinders. They sacked him 8 times today, Drew. Murdered him.
They did.
All right, let's talk Eagles-Bills.
Oh, hold on.
Or we got some comments.
Yeah,
So.
Dustin says, "Boy, oh boy, someone is going to have to answer some questions about the stash."
Well, they're going to have Nick Foles back in about 3 weeks. What do you do? I think you roll with Gardner Minshew right now.
Oh,
Even though I think Nick Foles has the higher ceiling, will eventually be the better quarterback, you got to go with the hot hands. Just like Kyle Allen and Cam Newton.
Sonny says Ryan Griffin is the backup for.
They have Blaine Gabbert too, or they did before the season. If they quietly cut him, I don't stay up to date on the Blaine Gabbert fan base.
Will did it too. Will said the same thing. He said Gabbert is our third and Ryan Griffin is our second.
Ryan Griffin's not your future quarterback.
Nah, sorry.
Blaine Gabbert, not your future quarterback.
It's time to draft a quarterback.
It is, and there's no reason to not play Jameis Winston. Again, at this point, you're just going to try to get the best football out of him, try to entertain your fans, and let the chips fall where they will. I don't think Bruce Arians is fixing Jameis Winston. Everyone said, oh, now he's got a great offensive mind. He's not fixing him. I think it's time to move on. I think everyone sees that now, right?
Yeah. Dad, it is game time. Appreciate everything you do for us, and go Chiefs, right?
Go Chiefs, sure. Again, no dog in this fight. Actually, I think it helps my team if statistically the Chiefs lose because that slim chance that they just bottom out and give up that playoff spot. So go Packers. How about that? Go Pack.
It's not happening, man.
Only because I don't want to hear.
I'm spoiling it. I'm picking the Chiefs to win.
I don't want to hear how Matt Moore is the best quarterback in the NFL if he does. So I'm going to say go Pack.
No, you just hear that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. That's what you would hear.
Austin says J.J. Watt might be out for the season. Yeah, I know. Always tough to see, but again, no stranger to injuries with Watt. We can. I'm going to keep going through a couple of these comments, and then we'll move on to our next game. Rob says they'd be like the Eagles, talking smack and losing. If we're going back to the Jacksonville one, I get it. I would love to see it. I hate it for Gabby. I'm glad that they pulled it out for her, but
yeah,
how appropriate, how poetic would that be? It would just be perfect. All right, we'll move on, Drew. Why don't we talk about this Eagles-Bills game so we can actually get out of here and watch a Chiefs game at one point?
Yeah, let's do it. And just real quick, guys, just to let you know, I know that we had a little bit of sharing here, and everyone's kind of watching us from a different website. If it's a Chiefs Kingdom, obviously, I feel all the love. Thank you for watching. We are Sports Around the Bar on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're also on podcasts. Check us out. Like us. Give us some love.
And give us a shout. We are here to talk sports with you. That's our whole point.
And if you are commenting from the share video, we will not see it. So if you want to check us out on our page and comment and join the conversation, please do so we can also hear what you have to say, and we'd love to have the comments as well.
Absolutely. And Will saying Jake Fromm to Tampa Bay, confirmed. Jake from State Farm. I'm ready for all those jokes. There was a commercial 10 years ago. Can we let it die, people? We'll move on. Eagles-Bills. Who's picking the Eagles? Because apparently everyone was picking the Eagles but us. And they were all right.
The Eagles except us.
And they were right. It's frustrating.
They saw some kind of, in their magic mirror, of what was going to happen in this game. I thought this Bills defense, being a legitimate defense in this league, holding pretty much the only team holding the Patriots in check so far this year, I thought they could come in and hold an ailing, team like offensively like the Eagles have been so far this year, hold them down to some points. What did they put up, 31 against this defense?
Yeah.
I mean,
and this is supposed to be the great defense that carries the day.
It really is.
Was this just the Eagles waking up?
No, I honestly think this is showing that the Bills have weakness, and they cannot offensively put up points to match someone when they start getting scored against.
Well, I'm going to stay positive here. I'm going to say it's the Eagles stepping up to the plate and actually getting the job done for the first time. They have talent here, right? Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey. They've got big names. They've got a lot of names in the offensive line as well. They've got players. I think this was just a case of the offense showing up and getting the job done. We haven't said that all season. They've had like one good game here, one good game, and then they're bad everywhere else. The defense has been atrocious, especially in the secondary. I think this is kind of an indictment on Buffalo and its passing game. Josh Allen still only threw for like 200 yards today. Didn't have a good game himself. When we were talking about the Buffalo Bills, this is why I'm saying they're fool's gold. When I was saying, it doesn't matter. They're going to do well because they're not playing anybody. Right now, not a great team.
Yeah, they're struggling right now for sure. It's a tough loss for the Bills. It pushes them that further out. I still think they're going to make the playoffs and in a wild card position. But what if the Patriots kind of drop off a game or two? What if that happens? Because
losing games to the Eagles hurts your chance to take them over.
Right, that's exactly what I'm saying. This is the toughest part that the schedule the Patriots have going forward here, and they have chances to lose some of these games. The Bills could have been stepping in front of them. I don't think it's happening anymore.
I'm with you. Ian says only 3 losses in his pool so far and still in second place. It's awesome, man. Rob also says the Eagles play good against good teams. Hence, they beat the teams like the Packers and they lose against didn't we say that about the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Where's the excuse for that one? The Cowboys are supposed to be a good team. They're leaders in the division. They didn't show up for that game. I think mentally the Eagles are not exactly where they need to be or where they were when they won a Super Bowl. They came into that focus, the hungry dog. No one was talking about them. Now that we are talking about the Eagles, they don't show up half the time. They don't get off the bus. And even though this week they kind of upset us, next week they could go right back to it. I don't really trust the secondary at all. Everybody's hurt. They're not playing well. The guys that are there aren't playing well. Eagles, to me, still kind of one of those teams in the middle that it's going to take a lot, and it's going to take a huge turnaround to be a playoff team.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's jump in the next game. We had the L.A. Chargers go on the road to face the Chicago Bears. Another Chicago failing kicker. It's got to be rough being a Bears fan.
You know what's even worse? Cody Parkey for the Titans hit 2 field goals, 51 and 46, and hit all of his extra points today. And the Bears cannot seem to make a kick.
And I rooted for the Bears because I needed the Chargers to lose this game. This is the only team I think in the AFC West that has a legitimate chance of catching up to Kansas City if they drop any of these games with Mahomes injured.
Right.
I needed him to hit this field goal.
I agree.
And it was the snap was good, the hold was good. This is purely the kicker shanking it to the left. Well, he didn't shank it, but he barely missed it to the left.
Yeah, and again, it was only a 40-some yard kick, like 43, 45-yard field goal. It just goes to show you how important kickers are. Everyone takes them for granted until you don't have one. I think when you look at kicking in the NFL, as soon as you don't have one, you're dead in the water. How many games have they dropped because of this? I mean, it's been an issue since the playoffs last year, and even before that, pretty much since they lost Robbie Gould. The Bears are not going to be a good team until they find a legit replacement.
But this is how this team is built. They're built to play tough defense. You would think they would run the ball, but Matt Nagy seems to constantly want to throw it. You think a kicker would be a very important position because you're planning on playing close games because your defense holds people to minimum points, and you would think this is an important position. I think it's time to focus on this position as far as Chicago Bears fans or team goes. And I know it's hard because in the Windy City, it's a tough place to kick the ball, too.
Definitely. Dustin says, just saw that the Texans, he just was watching the Texans, and he believes that Watt tore his pectoral muscle and will be done for the year. He's having an MRI as we speak, and he thinks this will be what forces J.J. Watt to hang up the cleats. It'd be sad to see him go. Even though he was a Texan, Drew, you gotta admit, the guy is absolutely dominant. I mean, he had, 3 straight years of 20-some sacks? Maybe one of the best defensive ends when he's healthy to ever do it, but this might be the kind of ride off into the sunset moment for J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt is one of those guys that are literally going to play as long as he wants to play. If he has the urge to play in the NFL, if it's not the Texans, which I think it will be, another team will pick up J.J. Watt. I will gladly take him in a Chiefs uniform any day of the week, even he's just doing special downs, third downs. If that's all he plays, I'd take him in a heartbeat. This guy's going to play as long as he wants to. Injuries are just part of the game. Unfortunately for him, it seems to plague him a lot worse now the older he's gotten.
And Scott also says J.J. Watt is the NFL's Greg Oden. I don't know if that's fair. I mean, he was dominant. He was the best defensive end in football.
Greg
he was
Oden
the guy
never did anything.
Yeah, he was the guy that you looked at in Houston and said they can win this game because J.J. Watt's there. He should have won MVP as a defensive tackle when he got real close to Strahan's record and was forcing all those fumbles. I don't think that's a fair comparison. I don't. I know he's hurt all the time, and you could say that's true, but J.J. Watt has been dominant and then got hurt.
Yeah.
Greg Oden was all hype and then never could live up to the hype. And yes, there were injuries in there too, but still.
Yeah.
We never saw it out of Oden. We definitely seen it out of J.J. Watt.
Will says that J.J. Watt in Tampa, we'd even let him wear 99.
Yeah, you take him in Kansas City right now.
Oh, absolutely.
This week,
Yeah,
I mean, first, especially no Frank Clark, right? Get him out there.
I'll take him in a heartbeat. Kenny says, "True, Bisky is terrible."
I prefer Mitch Trubisky, but whatever you prefer. Yeah, he's not playing very well, but I think a lot of it's on scheme. Let's talk about that game just for another second, and then we'll move on, Drew. The Chargers limp their way to another win, which last week they almost limped their way to another one. This is another team that can't seem to have the mentality of we're going to go in there, we're going to kill them, and we're going to play good football. It's always just 17-16, and Phillip Rivers has a good day, but it's never quite enough to just blow somebody out of the water. I know you said the Chargers are your only threat to beat the Chiefs in that division, but are they really? Is my question. I mean, they're 3-5 now, right?
I think it's the only team that has a legitimate chance, yes.
I definitely think they have a chance, but right now, this is still the Chiefs to lose. As long as Mahomes comes back in 3 weeks, even if they lose it out, let's say they lose it out the 3 weeks, like they said when he hurt his knee, and they lose all of those games, and the Chiefs are 5-5. Realistically, the Chargers have to win out to get back into it. Oakland doesn't look like they're a team that can close things out and hang with everybody.
Yeah.
Denver's Denver.
Right.
Are you? How worried are you? Is what I want to know. Out of 10. 2.3. Yeah,
3.
Okay.
I'm not that worried about it. My point is like, I'm just a true Chiefs fan. I don't want the Chargers to win. You know, the only time I want them to win is maybe like the Patriots. That's about it. It's, it just came out today that the plan is to start him against the Titans. I know you love to hear that.
Fantastic.
He has a stretch to possibly play next week, but more than likely be the week after that. I know I'll be at the game. I assume you're going to be at the game as well. Yeah. We will be definitely making a Sports Around the Bar, probably a video. I'll do one. I'll be tailgating for sure. To be honest with you, as far as if I'm concerned about the Chiefs dropping 2 games and letting the Chargers come in, it's a very small worry. But this is a game I could have used the Chicago Bears to beat the Chargers, and I would have felt a little bit better about
Giants-Lions. Closer than you thought? Daniel Jones looks really good. 4 touchdowns. I know he had a fumble, but 4 touchdowns, no picks.
What did we say going in the offseason? We said that if anything that the Giants have as a strength would be offensively, correct? I mean, this is what we thought.
Hey, Frank, how you doing, man?
We saw Golden Tate go there. We saw Shepard kind of show himself. We saw Ingram sit there flourish in the tight end position. Of course, they got Saquon. We're like, they just need a quarterback. Daniel Jones steps in. He seems like he's kind of going to be the future of their organization. It doesn't really surprise me the Giants put up points. What surprised me is that the Lions allowed it, because when I watched the Lions and the Chiefs game, where I watched every down, this Lions defense is a good defense.
Oh, I agree. And we're seeing him do that consistently against good defenses. It's not all been pretty. He's still a rookie. That's what I'll kind of caution people. He's got some growing to do in the NFL. But again, for a guy that everyone panned, Daniel Jones has been a great starter coming in for this Giants team. They've fixed the offensive line, or at the very least, they've got it to somewhere competitive levels, which they hadn't been before that. Now they just got to fix this defense, and that's why the Lions won this game. Matt Stafford had no problem moving the ball over. Kenny Golladay owned everybody with 123 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't just him. Amendola had 95 as well. This was pretty much pass at will on this Giants defense. The Lions, they're at 3-3-1, are still a threat in the North. I think even more so than Chicago. When you look at the way these teams are playing right now, I think I would take the Lions over Chicago. I still like the Vikings and Packers better, but if I had to pick a third-place team right now, it's the Lions.
Yeah, and the worst team in that division is the Chicago Bears, who we had at first. It's been a drop-off for the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely. And again, guys, if you're watching us from that watch party for the Chiefs, we can't see all your comments, so if you do want to talk with us, click on Sports Around the Bar, throw us a like on our page, and join us in the regular show so we can see what you're talking about, because our whole thing is we love interacting with you, and we'd like to see what you can say. We'll keep going so we can get you guys out of here for this Chiefs game. Why don't we talk about the Titans and Tampa Bay for just a second? We already went over a lot of it. Titans got lucky. Bunch of bad coaching decisions. I know everyone's saying this was a terribly officiated game. I didn't feel that way. And maybe it's because the calls were going my team's way. Maybe it's just that bias and I had the blinders on. But there were 1 or 2 bad calls that went the Titans' way, and the rest of it was just kind of a wash. I mean, I thought it was pretty well officiated until the fumble. The only other call I can complain about going against my team was the first sack that Pierre-Paul had. Shaq Barrett was like 3 yards offsides. He jumped way before the thing, and they let it go and let him just crush Tannehill.
Yeah. As far as this game goes, the only thing that I really want to put out is this is the reason why Tampa Bay needs to move on from Jameis Winston. If you go back and you look at every drive that the Titans had. They only had one legitimate drive at the end of the game that put that touchdown to go ahead to win. Everything else is all because of a Winston turnover. You know, statistically, you see the guy throw for 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. You're like, why would you get rid of that? It's because when those moments come in, and it's crucial for him to make a play, he gets concerned, overdoes himself, turns the ball over, and loses the game for you. I put that whole game completely on the loss on Jameis Winston's shoulders. But you know me, I've never been a fan of this guy. I've always complained about his turnover ability, that he seems that's the only thing he's consistently doing. It's time to move on.
I won't say it's just his fault. And let me say this. The offensive line did not win today. They couldn't run the ball. It had to be all through the air. And he was able to throw. But at the end of the day, you can't turn the ball over 4 times.
How many games are you going to keep giving this guy a chance?
I'm not giving him a chance.
No, I know. I'm not talking about you.
Sure.
I'm saying, how many times is this team going to give him a chance? How many times?
Until the end of the season, at least. Because like we talked about, that you have no kind of prospects coming up behind him. So at this point, it's his. After that, you got to move on. And I know Will was saying earlier on in the season, maybe we re-sign Winston because he's won some games like that. But this will be what you always get out of Jameis Winston. 1 or 2 great wins where you see him throw for 400 yards and the mistakes don't happen. And then 12 more losses because you're turning the ball over too much. No team can overcome 4 turnovers. Like, you look at the ratios, you almost always lose when you have 4 turnovers. Jameis Winston... It cannot be your starting quarterback if you want to win in the NFL. He can be a good backup quarterback. Yeah. If you're the Rams, if you're the Saints, if you're the Bears even right now, you can have a guy like that come off the bench and win you a game or 2 that you need to float while your starter gets hurt. You can't roll for 16 with Jameis. You just can't do it. A couple more of these comments and then we'll move on, Drew. Ian says he would love to see J.J. Watt and the Steelers with his brother. That would be fun to watch as well. He also said the Lions are still going to make the playoffs. That's going to be tough in this NFC, man. A lot of good teams out there. Yeah. Frank also says Bears first to worst. They got to get the offense going, Frank. I can't stress that enough. They have got to figure something out. Whether they want to be a running team, whether they want to figure out that, we're just going to throw and we're going to use Matt Nagy's system and get it working. They got to get something going on offense because 17 points against the Chargers defense without Melvin Ingram, not good enough.
Cameron says, love it or not, Titans are 4-4 and they're significantly better with Ryan Tannehill. By the way, told you, man.
Amen. That's all I can say. Amen.
We may compete for a wild card spot, which is crazy to think. We were after Denver. No doubt about it. Justin says, go Pack Go. See you later, Drew. Had to throw that in there. Thank you, Justin, for always being here on Sports Around the Bar, but no Pack, no. Go Chiefs.
Kenny also said a lot of missed interceptions for the Titans, though. Kenny, that's our MO. We're a good defense, but we can't take the ball away, which is stopping us from being a great defense, in my opinion. That would be the difference. If they could take the ball away in the same manner that some teams like Chicago or Kansas City can do, this would be the best defense in football. The way they limit people from scoring, but right now you got to take what you can get. The defense is still playing at a very high level through 7 games now, 8 games. The Titans have allowed 20 points on the board 1 time.
Yeah,
you got to take what you can get. That's all I can say.
Let's move on to the next game. We have the Denver Broncos going on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. This was an ugly game. This is a game that the Colts should have blown a weaker team, lesser team than them out of the water, and the Broncos stuck in there. And we talked a little bit about this game already.
We did.
I've been quietly saying Jacoby Brissett needs to be in the discussion of MVP. Not saying he's going to win it. I always want to make sure that's clear. This game, not that it takes
Did you change your mind?
This game does not make him take him out of the conversation.
The real question is, did you jinx him?
I might have jinxed him. I might have jinxed him because ever since I started, I've been talking about it. It seems to do him not well.
He had 60% completion percentage. That's close to where you want. You kind of want 64, 65, 63, somewhere in there, but close to where you want. He only threw for 200 yards. Didn't really turn the ball over. Didn't really put any touchdowns on the board. Is this just a case like I forget who it was saying before? Is this just the Broncos stepping up on defense? Is this defense kind of reasserted itself?
This game was a great game for the Denver Broncos.
And Scott says the Colts are grinding this year. Absolutely. Grinding teams are fantastic. They can go a long way. Kenny says the Broncos and Colts was a hard game to watch. I agree. I definitely agree. But
Lewis, what do you think about Joe Flacco's comments calling out Vic Fangio and his play calling? If it wasn't, to be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch it live. I only read it. It might have been calling out his offensive coordinator about play calling. Where do you think that puts Joe Flacco now with Drew Lock? They're saying he's not ready to play. But this is the guy they took high in the draft. Everyone's kind of considered him a first-round pick this year. Does these comments push Drew Lock closer to the starting role for the Denver Broncos?
On paper, it should not. Your quarterback should be able to say what he wants to say, and the best man plays. But everyone knows every time you've been to your job, there's politics,
right?
And that's exactly where this is going to go into. I think Drew Lock is a guy that, even if he's not ready to play, if Joe Flacco, the way he's playing right now, if he kind of, ostracizes himself from the rest of management and from the head coach and everything, he could very well find himself benched. And would I do it if I'm a head coach? No, because I want to win games. But at the end of the day, if Drew Lock is, even if he's not ready to play, he's going to need to see snaps at some point in the season. Why not now that you've got Joe Flacco coming out and calling you out and challenging your job? Because again, we're going into this point in the NFL where you don't have the same job security you used to. It's not the let's see him for 5 years and see what happens. Arizona fired their coach after one last year.
Yeah.
Do you think Vic Fangio is looking at that saying that could be me? Especially if something happens to Elway as their GM?
I think the NFL is changing as an organization and a business, and it's a win now or lose your job, and it's no longer give people chances. So yeah, I think that's a scary scenario. I think that's why the Redskins coaches are playing Case Keenum. They don't owe anything to Dwayne Haskins. They don't owe him anything. These coaches will not be coaching Dwayne Haskins after this season. More than likely, all of them won't be.
Right.
So you play to win the game, to keep your job, or play for your next job. Does Joe Flacco give the Denver Broncos a better chance than Drew Lock? My answer is yes. But he does burn bridges when he goes out there and makes comments like this.
Yeah, and I get it. He's a former Super Bowl winner, but when was the last time we saw Joe Flacco play at an elite level? I don't know that this is the point in time when you need to be criticizing the coach publicly as opposed to...
That playoff run when they won the Super Bowl, that's the only time I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll move on. We'll talk about our next one. But before we do that, a couple more comments. John says, Brissett is probably the MVP of the AFC South, but nowhere near MVP of the league. Can you give it to him over Gardner Minshew? Can you give it to him over Deshaun Watson, who, even though they have struggled at times, has stepped up in big games like the Saints, in the Saints game early on? I think when you look at Deshaun Watson and the Chiefs, playing against the Chiefs, he played really well in that game too. I don't know that I'm calling him the AFC South's best quarterback. He might be third.
No, I'm not going to sit here and argue with this.
Semantics.
This isn't the episode for us to do it. If you guys want to catch us on Tuesday night, I will go into Jacoby Brissett a lot more if you guys want me to hear why I think he should be a talk of the MVP, not win it, in the talk of it. As far as the South goes, yes, I think he could possibly win it. Deshaun Watson is doing well, and it's not that it's right, but sometimes when you consistently do well, you get overshadowed by someone that wasn't supposed to do well. As far as Gardner Minshew goes, I think he should be talking Rookie of the Year. I mean, I'll give you that one.
I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility, but let's see how it all shakes out.
Right.
I want to see the rest of the season for sure. Rob also says he's so glad Joe Buck and Aikman aren't calling the game tonight. I'm with you on that. Anytime Joe Buck's not on the commentary, I'm a happy man. Scott also said...
I'm muted anyways. It doesn't make any difference to me.
Scott also said, could be, keep him upright and clean. I think he's talking about Brissett, but he might be talking Minshew here. I'm not sure. Ian also says, Elway lived down the street from him, went to the same high school, saw all of his high school games. He's an a-hole, but his dad was cool. Winners have that a-hole mentality, I guess.
He's still an a-hole. Don't worry, Ian.
Chris also says Ryan Tannehill is his fantasy MVP today. I'm not going to tell you he had the greatest start ever, only 192 yards, but he threw some touchdowns, which is something the Titans have not consistently done.
In a standard league, he was a waiver wire pickup for me because I had my guy on bye, so he played well for me as well, Chris.
Bengals Rams, only because we have to. I mean, Andy Dalton kept it close. Yeah. The Rams aren't the same team they were last year.
Joe Mixon looked decent against a team that,
has struggled against the run.
No.
Good job.
I mean...
They're definitely not an elite run defense.
No, but they do show up every now and then.
And Cincinnati has no offensive line, too.
There you go. That was my point. That was my
fair
next
enough.
point. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
That being said, Cooper Kupp tore it up. Jared Goff finally looked a little bit better.
Against this defense, he needed to. If he didn't, we'd be talking about Jared Goff not being a good quarterback, right?
I can bring that up about a lot of teams.
Yeah,
I think that they should show up, and they don't. It's nice to see that they can finally do it. I don't think that's really surprising when Rams beat the Bengals. I don't know. Tell me.
Rams win, Bengals lose.
Any of you guys out there think that this was a surprise that the Rams win this game? I want to know and why you think that. I don't want to ignore the game. I don't think it was even that close. Even when the score was a little bit closer.
They hung around. If they could have got hot in the fourth quarter, maybe the Bengals could have pulled off an upset. But 0-8, we're talking about how bad the Dolphins are.
like the Broncos and the Colts game. I think everyone kind of knew the Colts were going to win that game. But when they kept it close, you're like, oh, man. This
Maybe
might
the
be an
Broncos
upset.
pull it off.
You never like, uh-oh,
Here come
Bengals
the
are going to
Bengals.
win.
No, definitely not. I'll agree with that 100%. I also think the Rams maybe
Scott.
should have scored a little bit.
Why in the world do you keep Cooper Kupp on your bench? You better have some elite receivers on your fantasy league.
That's a tough one.
He was actually my first receiver taken in 2 leagues. I can't believe you benched him, man.
That definitely is a tough one. Also, let's talk about the Cardinals and Saints.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Kyler Murray and company actually hanging with the Saints for a little while, because even though the score got ugly, even though it was 31-9,
This was not an easy game for the Saints to win.
no, I mean halftime it was 10-9.
This was a tough game for both teams. To be honest with you, I think my biggest takeaway with this is I know Chase Edmonds got hurt. I know after that you're kind of like, I'm on my third string running back. You ran the ball 11 times, Arizona Cardinals.
And your leading rusher was Christian Kirk.
That is not what you do
Wide receiver.
to beat a team led by Drew Brees. You keep him on the sideline. That, on the other turn, that's exactly what the Saints did. They kept the ball in their hands offensively and stopped Kyler Murray and this offense to even have a chance to try to catch up. It was an ugly game, but the Saints, by all rights, meant to win this game.
Kirk had 19 of their 40 yards rushing.
I know.
Wide receiver. 19 of their 40 yards rushing. Kyler Murray had 14 of them with like 3 or 4 of their rushes. You can't give up on the run. I'm 100% with you. It doesn't matter how good the Saints are at stopping it. Eventually, you got to keep them honest. You can't go back and throw the 33 times that Kyler Murray had. I got to say this: the Cardinals, because they only scored 9 points, barely had the ball in this game at all. This was all Saints. I mean, Latavius Murray had 21 rushes by himself. The Cardinals only had 11.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that you stood a chance of winning this one? I think when you look at this game, the Cardinals got away from the run. They couldn't sustain any drives. Again, they just didn't run that many offensive plays. The Saints pretty much dominated them through and through, despite what the score wound up being. I'm just glad Drew Brees is back and he's throwing the ball all over the lot, because when I look at this NFC team and I'm saying who's going to beat the Patriots when inevitably they beat the Chiefs and go on to the Super Bowl, maybe the Saints can do it. I'm kidding. I'm teasing because I know we got a lot of Chiefs fans out there. For real, though, in the NFC, it's the Saints and everybody else, in my opinion. Especially now that Drew Brees is back, it's the Saints, and then everyone else has to try to figure a way to figure it out. Even the Packers, I think, are a step behind where the Saints are for the rest of this roster. All right, a couple more of these, and then we'll move on. A couple more comments
I do want
here.
to get to this. I know that we got a lot of Chiefs fans. We got the game getting ready to start. I do want to give another shout out to all you guys. Thank you for joining us. Just real quickly, I know the game's actually started. Hey, check us out. Sports Around the Bar. We're obviously on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on everything you could almost think of.
We're on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Come on and join us on there.
We're everywhere. We're even on Periscope. Check us out. Give us a like. Give us some comments. Talk with us. This is the reason why we do this. Obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan. This guy is a Titans fan. We love talking sports. Even if it's not the Kansas City Chiefs, we love talking all sports. I'll talk Royals with you. I'll talk everything with you.
Exactly. All you got to do is click our name, click like page, and again, get into our regular broadcast so we can see what you're saying, because our whole point is we want to talk sports with you. Thomas in the comments says he's watching tennis from now on. Our resident Bengals fan. I don't blame you, man. But here's the bright side. You're going to get a top pick. They're going to move on from Andy Dalton. Do I think your head coach, whose name I'm drawing a blank on?
Who?
The Bengals. It is Taylor. Yeah. Zach Taylor. Even if he's not the answer, this is still a situation where it's time to move on from Andy Dalton. Even though he's not the worst thing in the world, it's time to go out and see if you can get an elite quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, couple more of these here. Scott says he had a brain fart. He was thinking something else for Kupp. I understand. Kenny also says Breeze came out like he never left. I totally agree with that. Rob, here we go. The MVP is on the field right now. Is Mahomes out there? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's on the field. All right, we'll keep going.
I think he was trying to say Aaron Rodgers, but no.
And that's okay. Thomas, we know you're a Bengals fan, but he says, but what the WTF? I'll let you decide what that means. Bench Dalton, trade AJ and Geno, and get some picks. Yeah, well, the Dolphins are doing it. It's the hip thing to do. Why not follow suit? The real question is who wins that Week 16 matchup and gets the first overall pick?
That's not the organization you enjoy as your fan of. You just that's not the Cincinnati
Hit him with
Bengals.
the old Sixers. Trust the process. Instead, the Bengals will win like 2 games this year, not get their quarterback, and things will continue as always. And I hate it for you, Thomas. I do.
All right, let's go on to the next game.
Jets-Jags.
Let's do it.
Disgusting. That's all I can say. Sam Darnold saw some more ghosts, even though he had some bright spots. 218 yards, not the worst in the world. 21 of 30. Sounds okay. 2 touchdowns. 8 sacks, 3 picks. I think there was a fumble in there too. Ugly day from Sam Darnold. But this goes back to what I've said about the Jets all along. You can't build on a team that's got nothing else going on for it but a quarterback. I know they signed Le'Veon Bell. He hasn't been Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
They don't have an offensive line good enough yet. That's part of it. They don't have the offensive line to run the ball yet. They don't have any wide receivers who can make an impact. They signed Jamison Crowder and said, "Oh, we're good now."
I'm very distracted. The game's on.
That's okay.
That's my fault.
They're not good anymore. They don't have the receivers. They don't have the offensive line. I think it's too early to say Sam Darnold's at fault here. I don't love the "I was seeing ghosts" comment, but he was mic'd up and probably just forgot himself.
No, I'm not even going to get into it. You just don't mic up your young quarterback against
unless it's Gardner Minshew, because those are nothing but gems.
Oh, well, that guy is he's a saint.
Exactly. Actually, he's a Jaguar.
Wow. Metaphorically, it's a saint.
Perfectly fine.
Let's move forward. We had the Panthers against the undefeated 49ers. This is a game that I was adamantly saying it's time for the 49ers to show up. And I was like, it's going to be tough. This is a Panthers team defensively that's stopping a lot of offenses. I'm thinking, man, I don't know if they could do it. I doubted the 49ers. I did say they were going to win this game, but I doubt them thinking that they might not be legit. After this 51-point outing, I think this puts the 49ers in that conversation about being an elite team this year. Jake, what's your thoughts on it?
I was actually just looking at my notification. It says J.J. Watt did tear his pectoral and is done for the season. So that's tough for the Texans. As for what the 49ers are going through, they can be an elite team now. We can talk about them being elite. I mean, they're undefeated. Even if Jimmy G is not just tearing the world up every week, we're still having a solid run game. I mean, you said Tevin Coleman scored the ball 4 times this week. Kyle Shanahan is finally turning that offense around. They're going to be a threat. In the very near future, they're going to be a threat. I think this team probably isn't good enough to win the NFC Championship just yet, but I've been wrong about them so far. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. I picked the Panthers in this one. I definitely swung and missed on that one. I still think the Panthers are a great team. We're probably going to beat Tennessee next week. But they haven't been good enough. They need to continue to work on this offense in Carolina. I think the 49ers defense stepped up in a big way and shut down Christian McCaffrey, who's been fantastic, or at least limited him if they didn't shut him down. This is a team that the 49ers have aspirations. The Panthers, to me, still a team that might make the playoffs, but reasonably, are they going anywhere, Drew?
The Panthers?
It's going to be tough, yeah.
Yeah, I think they find themselves, well, God, if they play in the AFC, they'd be a wild card for sure, no doubt. But the fact that they don't, they play in the NFC, I don't know, man. They might be a winning record just missing the playoffs.
Couple more comments. John says, bold prediction, but the Bengals will win a game or two this year, but will lose to the Dolphins. That is pretty bold. I think they beat the Dolphins. I do. As much garbage as we've been talking about the Bengals, and we were right about them, I think they're going to win one. They'll sneak one in division. Maybe they beat the Browns. Maybe they beat the Ravens or upset the Steelers or something like that. And maybe they beat the Dolphins too. I just don't see them losing Week 16. I'm still going to go Bengals right now with where the teams are. I think Andy Dalton's going to beat whoever comes out for the Dolphins. Finally, we'll move on, and we'll talk about our next game, which is, I can't even see it. Who are we talking about next?
The Browns against the Patriots.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Cleveland lost. The Patriots won. Cruise into the AFC Championship again. Looks like Foxborough, here we go for another AFC Championship.
Their stretch of tough games are coming up.
Wasn't this supposed to be a tough game before the season?
I said no. I said this is the start of maybe games. Like, maybe the Browns show up. And
then they didn't. It was 17-0, right away.
I know we talked about this, and I know that we've had this discussion many times, especially just between me and you, and with our fans as well. How much do you put the offensive struggles on the team and the players or the coach and his play calling and the lack of experience of play calling?
Well, I think losing Zeitler has hurt this team a lot. Offensive guard, they traded him to the Giants to get it done. If you look at it, the Giants can run the ball now. And one guard doesn't change everything. But what it does is help. You good?
No, dude, my team's playing. Let's go. Right. Let's keep going.
What it does do is hurt this offensive line that was not ready to play without their all-pro guard. Or, at the very least, Pro Bowl level guard. Losing Kevin Zeitler, I think, has hurt them. The rest of the offensive line has also gone through some significant subtractions, losing guys like Joe Thomas. I think that's the biggest issue here. I don't love the play calling. I don't think Freddie Kitchens is ready to be a head coach in the NFL. Hey, Jeremy, good to see you, man. I think when you look at this game and you look at this team, The Browns just are not ready to win. They've taken too many chances and it has not paid off. They moved on from a lot of veteran offensive linemen. The guys coming in haven't fixed it. They've moved on from guys like Greg Williams, who's a seasoned NFL coach that probably would have guys like Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry in position to make better plays because he's telling them, shut up, don't worry about the media, focus on what you need to do on the field. Freddie Kitchens doesn't have that kind of control.
Yeah.
And that's what's hurting the Browns the most.
That was
definitely a catch. We'll move on.
That is not a catch, man.
Was that Adams?
No, Adams is not playing. That's not a catch.
All right.
I don't know.
Chiefs are playing right now, so Drew is definitely distracted. But
I'm
finally
sorry.
with the Patriots. How good of a win is this? We've talked about them not playing anybody. How is this a better win?
No, I still think this is still part of their easier part of the schedule.
It's still preseason?
No, it's pretty much. The Browns, as much as we want to call it a maybe game, it's not. The Browns are nowhere near what we thought they could be. I think everyone's kind of surprised about how bad this team actually looks offensively. When we said this would be the best part of this offense, or this team was their offense. That being said, I don't want to take anything away from the Patriots winning the game. It's nice to see that I say this. It's for them. It's nice to see that Edelman get involved. Edelman's kind of been quiet. I think he was shy of 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the receiving core is obviously the weakness. You know, they went out and traded Sanu. I mean, what's Sanu end up with?
I'm not sure in this game.
To be honest,
but,
I don't think it was anything significant.
But this early, it's not a big deal.
No,
again,
not.
they just traded for him. It's one of those things. It's going to take him a couple weeks to work into the offense.
Sanders scored a touchdown for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I was the one telling you to bench him. So, again, it works out. But more often than not, it takes guys time to work their way into an offense. I'm not that worried about Sanu not lighting it up for the Patriots.
No, I was saying...
But he will.
I'm saying it's nice to see that because you obviously, the week for Patriots fans, it's nice to see that.
Sanu had 2 for 23. No touchdown.
Right. So... It's nice for the Patriots fans to see that they're getting Edelman involved because if there's a weakness on this team, it's the receiving core end of it.
All right, couple more comments, and then we'll move on to our Sunday and Monday night game. Jeremy says, let's go Matt Moore. At least you got a Colts fan in your corner.
We still have the Raiders and the Texans.
Let's move on to Sunday night football because nobody cares about those teams. Ian also says, not him. The Browns are paper team. Nothing on the field. I'm with you on that. I'm not 100% with you on that. They have great playmakers. They've lost the guts of the team. You're trading away defensive linemen. You haven't figured it out. You have to be good in the trenches in the NFL to win. They traded away all the guts. They're not winning games.
Yeah. Cameron, you don't worry about that. I'm the boss.
Absolutely. All right, Raiders-Texans, only because you want to.
No,
Texans eke one out.
I'm glad they did.
Steal one against the Raiders. I'm upset they did. How about that? I would have liked my team to gain a game because the Raiders beat the Texans and beat the Colts.
You are quietly a Texans fan.
I'm not. I'm definitely not. Let me say this. Losing J.J. Watt hurts this team because the strength of the Houston Texans has been the entire season long that front seven. They've been able to limit people, and I think even though J.J. Watt hasn't been getting all the sacks and he hasn't been the name that you're looking to, like, look at J.J. Watt blow up this play, he still helps his defense out. Teams don't want to run towards his side of the ball. Losing a guy like that hurts this team immensely, in my opinion.
Yeah, Rob, don't. It wasn't a catch, man.
Could have been a catch.
Ground assisted by the ground. Okay. Even though the Texans do win this game and push themselves a little bit further in the lead, losing J.J. Watt is as much as we don't want to see anyone hurt, especially a guy with that kind of character.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
He's an amazing person.
Off the field, one of the best, most influential people in the NFL.
Absolutely. That loss helps the Texans out immensely because that's their defensive leader. Maybe not statistically, but a leader 100%. I don't want to get too off track, but I know you love talking your Titans. Does that loss give the chance, like the Colts and the Titans, to kind of push them over the edge over the Texans?
I single-handedly no. Like, if the rest of the defense is healthy and J.J. Watt goes out, I'm going to say it doesn't really make that much of an impact when you talk about how he's impacted the game. But with all the injuries in the secondary the Texans have had, it's going to be tough for them to stay in games. I mean, the Raiders hung with them for a reason. I think when you look at this game, the secondary is going to be an issue. It already was, but now that they're missing their starters, it's definitely an issue. They might have one of the worst secondaries out there. They're trading all their picks away, so you're not really going to be able to replace that very well. The Texans are in some trouble going forward. It's almost like make or break for them. They either win this year or things start falling apart.
Yeah.
As for the Raiders, got to close this one out. If you want to be a team that we're talking about going to the playoffs, you got to win games like this. I understand the Texans are probably better than you on paper. You hung with them for most of the game. You were leading for a while, especially at halftime, and yet they still came up short. This is a game that just shows me that the Raiders, even though they're making improvements, not quite there yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's still a little bit of issues. It's nice to see Tyrell Williams to get out there. I think that was a missing piece on offense, even though he did have a decent game with a touchdown, but he wasn't really utilized early for Raiders. It's a good piece to add back in there. Defensively, we thought this team was going to be weak during the offseason. They kind of showed a good defense. They got a lot of people that are trying very hard to earn and keep positions in the NFL. But this is a game that kind of got away from them, and this is a game that, they didn't keep in and they didn't win. Good for the Chiefs. Let's go on.
Let's talk about this game. Let's start with it. And Rob says LaFleur for Coach of the Year. Well, let me tell you this. Even though he had the 28th ranked offense for the Titans last season, I was sad to see him go. When he left, I told you, and you were like, what? You were the one kind of poo-pooing on it a little bit, saying, 28th offense, not that good of a coach. And I was telling you, man, he's doing a lot with a bad situation. We're seeing that kind of come to fruition.
Poo-poo on it.
Oh, you definitely did.
What I did was, this
crap
is a very
all over
strange coaching hire because you never hear the 28th offense that year get a head that offensive coordinator get a head coaching spot. That being said, he obviously wowed him in the interview, and so far what he's doing for this 6-1 Green Bay Packers team speaks a lot about this guy.
He's
taking this team and defensively, I know he doesn't make all the calls, but he was helping with the personnel decisions. They brought in the Smith brothers, Aaron Rodgers, even though they didn't bring any more receiving weapons in there, but they didn't lose any either.
They should have. They needed to. And that was my gripe with this team. But instead, they focused defense.
It's working.
It is. It definitely is. Do I think it's enough? Sorry, Packers fans. I still think you're behind teams like the Saints in the NFC. Do I like what they've done? I love that they brought in pass rushers. Again, I'm the biggest guy for winning the trenches, and you can win the game. I love that they brought in both the Smiths. The Packers are good for that. I like the Matt LaFleur hire. I did. In the moment, I was like, this is a good hire.
Let's talk about Kansas City.
Let's talk about Kansas City.
We all know Patrick Mahomes is down. He's not playing this game. Matt Moore's in as quarterback. He's about to get his first drive as the starter for this game. How much, in your opinion, does this offense slack a little bit with having, obviously, the former MVP out, and you bring in someone like Matt Moore, who has been around? He's a journeyman.
I think he's a good backup.
And I think he's a good backup, too. Obviously, he's our second choice as backup with Chad Henney on IR. I loved the big bomb with Tyreek last week. You kind of saw, hey, this guy can air it out. He kind of showed all the fans a little bit of relief where it's like, this guy's got an arm. We're not bringing in Matt Castle, who has a 20-yard bomb. This guy can't put the ball in.
20-yard might be a stretch for Matt Castle. We both have suffered Matt Castle.
This is a guy that can literally play the game well enough for a team as talented as the Chiefs are. Let's not forget, with Tyreek Hill, with Kelsey, with McCoy and Damian Williams, and every other receiving option and running back that this team has. This team is littered with talent. And when you bring in Eric Fisher back from injury, who in my opinion I think is a better run blocker than give credit for this guy, I think this team offensively can do some damage against the Packers. I am going to stick with my Chiefs. I struggled with all week long. I listened to all the coaches talk, all the players talk about how they're going to rally around Matt Moore. I believe defensively they're going to come out and be strong. I know we gave up a touchdown, but guys, this is Aaron Rodgers.
This is why we don't watch the game before we make the picks. I'm going to go Packers. I'm going to go Packers.
I'm picking the Chiefs.
I know I'm staying chalk here, Drew. I appreciate the bravery. You're the guy also who told me Chiefs 14-2 before the season. I appreciate you sticking with Matt Moore, but I just think this is not the team that you're going to beat with a backup quarterback. I don't care who it is. It could be Teddy Bridgewater. Someone's saying he's the best backup in the league. It could be Jameis Winston. It could be Marcus Mariota. You take your pick. Backup quarterback doesn't come in and beat a team that's playing this well like the Packers are. I guess we'll see. I want to see a decent game out of the Chiefs. Even if you don't win it, I want to see some fight, because if Patrick Mahomes does have to miss extended time, what it will do is give your team some security and say, Matt Moore is playing okay right now. We don't need to have Patrick Mahomes come back. If he lays an egg in this one and he's just absolutely terrible, the Chiefs will look at this game and say, we have got to go and rush this kid back. That's the worst thing that can happen for this franchise. Do not rush Patrick Mahomes back, because the last thing you need is him to turn into RG3 or take your pick. Vince Young, all these guys that got hurt and never came back the same. I think if Matt Moore does a decent job here, Matt Moore, that's the best thing for the Chiefs, is you can have that protection if we don't need to have to go straight back to Mahomes.
I am definitely more distracted now that the offense has gotten on the field. I don't know if it's more the fact that it's the injury that he got all the best case scenario on this injury. Patrick Mahomes did. He didn't tear ligaments. He looks like he's strong. It looks like he's got a lot of strength around that kneecap. He is going to be wearing a brace probably for the rest of the season, probably for the rest of his career, because once you dislocate it, it becomes easier to dislocate. And this brace is not a 100% secure your kneecap. This definitely helps. The struggle is, how long do you allow this guy to keep building strength around his kneecap? He's already out there throwing. Mm-hmm. He's not moving. He's not making cuts. But when you talk about 2 weeks from now, and he's already doing this stuff, this is the stuff you
3
do.
3 weeks from now. He's got to miss the Titans game 3 weeks from now.
This is, well, right now, the deadline is he's going to play against the Titans.
And it better not be.
But
I want to see Matt Moore come to Nashville.
You have to think about it here is he is already in the process that you usually do 2 weeks from now. He's already in that process. He's already in that rehab where he's putting turns and pressure on that knee. Man, he's going to be playing. Yeah, I think it's a stretch, but he could possibly play next week.
My point is, don't rush it. There's no reason to. Look at the rest of your division. The Chargers don't look good. They eked out it took the Bears missing a field goal for them to win. The Raiders can't seem to close out games, even though they have a couple impressive wins this year. The Denver Broncos are an afterthought. Don't rush it. You need this guy healthy for week 18 when you go into the playoffs, or 19 if you get the bye. You don't need him in week 8. You don't need him in week 9, 10, 11. Get him healthy and get him into the playoffs. The Chiefs are going to be a danger. It doesn't matter if you're on the road. It doesn't matter whatever. Keep him healthy. There's no reason to put him at risk. And I think they will, because for whatever reason, I feel like the Chiefs are that organization that says, as soon as we can have him out there, we'll put him out there. I don't think that's the right move. I think the right move is let him get as much rest as he can. And I'm not just saying this because he's going to play my team. From that standpoint, keep him as healthy as possible, because this team does not succeed without Patrick Mahomes. Or succeeds considerably less without Patrick Mahomes.
But challenging the first down, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll talk about Monday and we'll get out of here so you can watch it in earnest.
It's such a waste of a challenge, man. I get it. You kind of want to make a precedence early on where you're like, you didn't get the first down, but...
and Ken says, I just want him to miss the Titans game. I do, but from this standpoint, if I'm saying I'm the GM of Kansas City, why am I rushing him back to the field? Even if we lose the next 3 games and we're 5-5, who's catching us in the division? The Chargers will need to win out. Oakland will basically need to win out to get to where we are. And even if they do, and you get Patrick Mahomes back 100% healthy, do you care? No, because you know you're going to go blow him out. You're going to win most of these games, the healthy Patrick Mahomes. My point is, don't turn him into RG3, who looked good for a while and then got hurt, and they said, we're just going to keep going because we want to win games in this moment. Yeah. Keep him healthy. There's no reason for it. Again, you have a huge lead on the rest of the division. You've already probably lost the home field advantage to the Patriots. Beyond that, what are you playing for? Even if you have to play an extra week, is that big of a deal? Or I still think you're probably going to get a bye because the AFC's so weak. We'll especially this year. Maybe Ravens steal it from you. Nobody out of the South is. I mean, look at the way they're beating each other up. Everyone's got 4 wins, and except for the Colts, who have 5. And none of these teams in the AFC are probably going to challenge you. Maybe the Bills, but they're in the same division as the Patriots.
Here it is. This is it, and we got to move on to the Monday night game. At this point, no one in this league is 100%. Everyone plays banged up. Everyone plays with some scrapes, cuts, and bruises. You got to understand. If he's ready to play, he's ready to play. That's just simple enough to put it.
Well, the difference is if he tells you I'm ready to play, you go and ask the doctor, what do we think? And then you make a decision. The problem is everybody always wants to play, and everyone will always tell you I'm good. Michael says go Chiefs. He believes they can win. I believe they can win too. You need a huge game out of the defense, which has not been very good to this point. You need some huge takeaways if it's going to happen, and you got to limit the run. I don't think you can let this Matt LaFleur offense run on you and win the game still. A couple more here. Ian says Mason looks like Montana. If he's talking about Mason Rudolph, I disagree. Also, Jeremy says he wish he was the host like Tony on Around the Horn so he'd give us points or mute us. Well, who do you agree with? Obviously, you disagree with me when I was talking about the Colts.
How many times would you mute Jacob?
All the time. All the times. All right. Also, Rob says he agrees Mahomes is needed to beat the Pats in the playoffs 100%. You can't do it with a backup quarterback. Nobody can. There's no team that's going in there with a backup. Maybe this. Would you give Teddy a chance, a snowball's chance in hell that he can go in there and beat the Patriots? I'm gonna go no. Yeah, probably not. It's got to be the starter.
Yeah, it has to be.
All right, guys. Michael, we appreciate your comment as well. Glad to see you, man. I know you're one of our new commenters. We're glad to see that. And again, guys, give us a like on Facebook because we don't get to see the comments you believe in the watch party. Give us a like on here. Join us in the regular chat because we want to talk football with you, even if it's all Chiefs. I don't mind. I'm not the Chiefs fan, but I don't mind. I'll tell you when they're good. I'll tell you when they're bad. You can take my word for it. Drew will always tell you they're good, but you can believe me.
Or you just not like Jake. I'm just kidding.
All right, fair enough. Monday Night Football. And
I'm joking. You are always fair.
Finally, we have to talk about this. Dolphins Steelers. Ugh.
I'm with Ian.
Are we not
35-0? All right, moving forward.
Are we not on the point where we can flex one of these games in there?
It needs to be flexed.
Can we give somebody else Monday Night Football?
It needs to be flexed.
This is just disgusting. I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to watch the whole thing, and then I'm probably going to be upset that I wasted 3.5 hours of my life. And then the Steelers will win it by, I'm going to say 17. I don't think that anyone scores 35 points in this game.
Ian, thank you so much, man. Yeah,
we do have shirts. We do have merchandise. If you want that, again, click on the store tab. Thank you, Ian, for letting us know to pump that. I always forget.
Rob, thank you so much for the comment. We appreciate
Jeremy said I'm number one.
Jeremy
I knew he's a smart guy. And that's a Colts fan.
He was just
How about him
worried you were
coming
gonna
across
ban
the
him.
aisle?
He was just worried you were
I was
gonna ban
hovering
him.
over the button. How about a Colts fan coming across the aisle and saying I'm number one? Thank you, Jeremy.
Cameron is saying 20-10 Steelers.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I don't think anyone's really picking the Dolphins to win this game. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the starting quarterback, but how much does he really make this team better? Yeah, you might have a half that's decent, but I think Josh Rosen was doing the exact same thing. You'd have a decent half, and then the game they'd give up on the game.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have the talent. That's all it is. They're trading away everything else. And Ian says you never waste time watching the Steelers. Fair enough, but I'll say this. I'm going to get out of that game and I'm going to be like, why did I just watch the Steelers punch the Dolphins' face in for 60 minutes? I could have been doing other stuff. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it. We'll get out of here so you can watch the Chiefs games. Again, we will be back on Tuesday. We do 4 shows a week during the regular season. We'll be back on Tuesday at 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So, again, if you have something you want to talk about, if you want to talk World Series, if you want to talk hockey, if you want to talk English Premier League, Tuesday's your day to do it. Throw us a like on Facebook. Again, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Hopefully, we get to see your comments when you do. We're here because we like talking sports with you. Even though we're doing a lot of the talking, this is all about what you say in the comments. Whatever. Relax. It'll be on when we're done here, too, okay? We have it on DVR, too.
And I'm obviously very delayed because I'm doing it off my phone.
We will be back on Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday and Sunday to talk everything going on in the NFL as well as everything else going on in the world of sports. Drew, final thoughts before we go and watch this? If you say go Chiefs, I swear, we're not going to be back on Tuesday.
Guys, thank you all again for all the likes, comments, and shares. It means the world to us. I appreciate everyone that stuck around and listened to us instead of the terrible accommodating of Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. It's all terrible. I do want to give a special thanks, but before I do it, I want to remind everyone that is watching it from the shared, please give us a like on Sports Around the Bar. Get a chance to put your voice into our show. As you can tell, we have an amazing fan base that has already backed us up completely, and they are constantly here, show in and show out, and we give them all the love and support. We give each other a hard time, too.
And we want to talk with you.
And
Again,
that's the most important thing,
yes,
is the fact that your voice matters in this show, and we want to keep moving forward as a show, and your love and support helps us. But I want to give a special thanks out to everyone that commented on this. Chris, Will, Kitty, Rob, Ian, Julio, Brian, Austin, Rob, Sonny, Gabby, Dustin, Ken, Frank, Cameron, Justin, Scott, Chris, Thomas, Jeremy, and Michael. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for liking our page, commenting, and sharing, and just loving Sports Around the Bar.
And Jeremy says, let's talk about Tiger Woods. He just won his 82nd PGA Tour match. Again, everyone's going to say he's back, and then the back will flare up again. It's a great win for him. I think Tiger's one of the best golfers in history, if not the single best guy. But I will say this, Jeremy. How long of a comeback are we talking about? We'll talk about that more on Tuesday if you want to talk about that. For Sports Around the Bar, I am Jake. This is Drew. We'll be back on Tuesday again, 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central, to talk whatever you want to talk about. Tuesday's the variety show. So we'll see you guys on Tuesday.